I finally found it. Now who's gonna stop me?
It's me, Mario!
Ouch! Pull!
Oh! Ah, ravioli.
Oh? Oh.
Mamma mia!
Come on, Mario!
Okie dokie!
Wait!
Looks like we're finally getting a Super Mario Bros. Movie that won't make you want to jump down the nearest warp pipe into the waiting jaws of a hungry piranha plant. In fact, it's looking like it could be really good, but there is one thing that a lot of people are getting hung up on, and that's Mario's voice. It's so different from the voice we're used to. Fan theories about it not really being Mario started to pop up within a day of the trailer releasing. Strangely, there don't seem to be similar theories about these other characters.
That one's perfectly fine.
I do not.
Junior, I've got something difficult to tell you.
Behold, the king of the Koopas!
But I digress. Confusion about the trailer is amplified by the fact that Mario doesn't seem to know where he is when he opens his eyes in the Mushroom Kingdom, leading some to wonder if he has amnesia or is some sort of doppelganger that's not really Mario. Others just want to know what happened to his voice and why he doesn't sound Italian anymore.
Ah, spaghetti. Ah, ravioli. Ah, mamma mia.
And why didn't they just cast Charles Martinet, who's been doing the voice of Mario for 3 decades?
Here we go! Woohoo!
A gimmick like amnesia or an alternate version of the main character would be a risky direction for a standalone movie, or potentially the first one in a series. But even putting that aside, there's no reason to think this isn't Mario, despite the fact that his voice is completely unlike the one we're used to. In a moment I'll explain why the new voice not only has precedent, but completely fits within Mario lore. And later in the video I'll address the question of why did they need to change it? Before we get to that though, I want to make it clear that this isn't about the casting choice. I'm not trying to defend the decision to cast Chris Pratt or to not cast Charles Martinet. The points I'm going to make here are independent of who's actually doing the voice. With that out of the way, let's discuss some forgotten lore of Mario. Mario lore isn't always consistent across the hundreds of games in which he appears, but there are a few things that are pretty much set in stone. Mario is a plumber, he's Italian, he has a brother named Luigi, etc., etc. Nintendo hasn't focused too much on Mario's origins recently, but if we go back a few decades to the earliest games and their accompanying TV shows, yes, there were Mario TV shows. They probably happened before some of you were born, but they happened. It's well established that Mario is not originally from the Mushroom Kingdom, which makes sense, really. What's a human plumber of Italian heritage doing in a land populated by sentient mushrooms? It's unlikely he was born there. I suppose we could say the same about Peach and others, but let's just focus on Mario for the time being. While he does end up spending a lot of time there and perhaps even living there, he's not native to the land of the mushrooms, even if he is a real fun guy. Believe it or not, Mario actually hails from Brooklyn, New York, one of the boroughs of New York City. This fact isn't often mentioned in games, but it becomes well established when you look at game guides, Nintendo Power magazines, official comics, and multiple TV shows, including the Super Mario Bros. Super Show. It's not even limited to Mario-related media. Here's the instruction manual for SimCity for the Super Nintendo, stating that Brooklyn is Mario's hometown. And although the earliest games don't mention exactly where Mario is from, they do heavily imply that he came to the Mushroom Kingdom from elsewhere. I suspect the reason why a lot of people are surprised by Mario's new voice is that they're not aware of this piece of Mario's backstory, and that makes a lot of sense, since most of the sources I mentioned are from the 1980s and 90s. Meanwhile, Charles Martinet's Mario voice has been with us for as long as most of us can remember. But let's go back to before Mario even had a voice in games, and take a look at a few clips from the Super Mario Bros. Super Show.
Hey, paisanos! It's the Super Mario Brothers Super Show!
Leaping lasagna!
Help is on the way!
We got a lot of people in Brooklyn. We got bouffleurs, we got beautiful girls, we got restaurants, we got carpenters, plumbers, but normal? Forget about it. Yo, Mario, I got everything you asked me for. I got macaroni, I got the beans.
Notice the accents there? Let's compare them to Pratt's Mario voice.
Mushroom Kingdom, here we come!
I'm no accent expert, but I've seen Goodfellas.
Funny how?
Just, you're funny.
I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you?
It sounds to me like they're at least going for a New York accent, if not a full-on Brooklyn one. The Super Mario Bros. Super Show also shows the brothers first arriving in the Mushroom Kingdom through a pipe while trying to unclog a bathtub drain. It looks like they're going for something similar in the new movie. It may not be exactly the same scenario, but it looks like Mario arrives in the Mushroom Kingdom through a pipe and has no idea where he is, implying it's the first time he's been there. Rather than a story about Mario with amnesia, it's more likely this is a Mario origin story, perhaps a prequel to all of the games, or in a timeline all its own that's separate from the games. And really, I think that's a pretty good way to go. You don't want to require your audience to have extensive knowledge of the games in order to understand the movie, and you'd be hard-pressed to come up with a coherent timeline from the games anyway. But I think Mario's new voice actually gives us one of the biggest reasons to be hopeful about this movie. Unlike a certain other movie that shall not be named, it looks like they're staying true to the world of the games and not inventing their own terrible, horrible, awful, unbelievably bad, insert additional synonyms here, interpretation of it. I'm not saying you have to like the new voice, but at least it shows that the creators are drawing from established lore rather than making up their own. And as a lifelong fan of Mario, that's exactly what I want from a Mario movie. I only wish all of my favorite properties were treated with that much respect. Okay, I've demonstrated why Mario's new voice fits the lore and has precedent, but why did they need to change it at all? Why not just stick with the voice we're used to? To demonstrate that, let's look at some of Mario's most famous lines. The first one that comes to mind is probably,
It's me, Mario!
Followed by such classics as,
Here we go! Mamma mia! Mario time!
and everybody's all-time favorite, Yeah, most of Mario's dialogue consists of quick, snappy exclamations that are almost never in the context of a conversation. Even when you have cutscenes with heavy interactions between the characters, they're mostly played out non-verbally. The reality is, despite having an iconic voice, Mario barely ever talks. Not in the games, anyway. Most of what we hear from him are things like, you know, video game sounds. Now don't get me wrong, I love Charles Martinet's Mario voice, and I hope to hear it in future games for decades to come. That said, I'm not sure I could handle an entire feature-length film of,
Oh, hello! It's me, Mario! And I want to thank you for choosing Mario Teaches Typing. Guess what time it is? It's time for you to type. Let's do this. I ain't got nobody. Get it? Nobody?
Those clips were from Mario Teaches Typing 2, which contains some unusually long sentences spoken in Charles Martinet's Mario voice, and while I'm sure Movie Mario will be speaking real dialogue and not typing tutorial instructions, and he also won't be a disturbing, disembodied floating Muppet head, I hope that demonstrated why the classic Mario game voice just won't work for a feature film, especially if we're supposed to take the film remotely seriously in terms of being absorbed by the story and feeling any gravitas or emotion at all. As an illustration, imagine this scene from Wreck-It Ralph if Ralph was all, I'm a bad, and that's a good. I'll never be good, and that's not a bad. There's a no one I'd rather be than a me. For the record, I feel the same way about Toad, Peach, and other characters we're likely to see.
Come on in, Mama Peach. I think not. Mario! You again? Don't you ever give up?
Mario! How dare you disturb my family vacation?
I'm crack stuntman.
The game voices would drive audiences nuts by the second act. Does that mean they had to do away with the Italian accent completely? No, but I still think it would be necessary to mellow it out a bit to make it more palatable for theater audiences. I'd hate for Mario to be the Jar Jar Binks of his own movie.
Oh, muy, I love you!
You almost got us killed. Are you brainless?
In any case, I hope this clears up some of the confusion around Mario's new voice and why it really is Mario in the new trailer. As always, I welcome your thoughts in the comments, and tell me what you thought of the rest of the aspects of the trailer. I thought the visuals were amazing. It looks like they're really working hard to nail these characters and bring us something awesome. I'm excited for this movie. What do you think? Let me know. That's all from me for now. As always, thank you so much for watching. Did you enjoy that video? Let us know by slamming that like button and leaving a comment below. And if you found it helpful or informative, consider hitting that super thanks button or checking out the other support options in the description. Subscribe for tons more guides and other fun videos. And for insightful gaming news content, check out our sister channel, Triple S Podcast.
Watch it rain.